So what is that tea good for then?
The ginger, so it's great for bloating.
Need that.
Yeah, that we all. It's actually great for anything to do with the digestive system, because if you think about, we're putting food and we know what it looks like on the plate, and then that has to go into the stomach and be broken down into teeny tiny bits that can be absorbed throughout the body. That's a major job. So the stomach is going to need a huge supply of blood to allow it to do that. Mm-hmm. So in Chinese medicine, they think, what does food, you know, here in the Western world, we look at food in a lab and we say it has this much fat and this much protein, carbs and vitamins and minerals. Whereas thousands of years ago, all they could go by was what happens to the body when somebody eats it. Okay. And we know, we've prime examples of this. You know, people know when they drink coffee, it can activate a bowel movement. If you eat loads of rhubarb, bowel movement the next day.
Cauliflower.
Yeah, cauliflower.
Here's cauliflower, right?
It's a pretty
Couldn't
bland.
be near me.
Pretty bland food too. Wheat chilies.
Remember that.
TMI. Keep me away from it.
Wheat chilies. It's the heat's up here and the warm. So we know. We can relate to it. So what does the ginger do? The ginger is warming, which means it dilates blood vessels, and it is very active in the stomach area. So if we put ginger into the digestive system before we do anything else in the morning, it's like we have switched the oven on good and high, and there's lots of blood there, so that when we put the food in, it's ready to churn it, ready to break it down and do its thing and get it distributed around the body. But what do we do here? We have like a cold breakfast, cold water, or a cold smoothie.
Or cold milk on your cereal.
And it's like, that's not happening. You know, we all know when our bodies are colder, like when your hands are cold, it's harder to use your fingers in that. So that food doesn't really, may not get properly
your digestive
digested.
system.
And it's kind of,
it's cold, it
absolutely.
makes sense.
But then it just is left sitting there.
Right.
Aye.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and then for some women, we would say their period pain might be due to cold, and in order to determine this, I would say what helps your period pain, and if they say a hot water bottle, then I know, well, there's cold in the system, and it's possible then that's something that for some women, just having the ginger a few times in the day will help dilate those blood vessels too, and leave the period pain.
It's
simple, but it's not the complete answer for everybody, and it's important to point that out. It could be that with all the other tips, like keeping your feet warm, or putting your feet up against the wall for 5 to 10 minutes every day, you know, helps the blood move back down to the pelvis, because there's no heart. We've got the heart pumping it away, but we don't have a pump to bring it back. So you can spend your whole day walking and being active, but in the modern world that's difficult. So if we lie with our feet up against a wall, see, my tips are good, aren't they?
I do like that tip.
Yeah, that's a nice tip. Just lie with your feet up a wall.
Just lie on the sofa with your feet up there.
Yeah. And
I did that in pregnancy yoga.
Yeah.
What?
She used to make us lie with her feet up against the wall. Just remember, I think it's the last time I remember doing that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you see, we don't look after ourselves.
What are you laughing at? In pregnancy yoga? No. Just ignore her.
It's a bold joke. Keep going.
I was thinking. I was like, I know what she's talking about. Ruined my flow.
Yeah.
No, you've got a good
Talking
flow.
about the flow, back to the flow.
The
The heavy flow.
Yeah. Not the heavy flow, Ciara. We don't like to talk about
We're
that.
not allowed to say that.
So it may be the complete answer, or it may just bring you to a better place, but you may still need help from somebody like me or from a medical professional. But it really isn't going to do any harm. And it tends, the ginger then is also a little bit drying as well, which helps dry up some of that damp that we in this part of the world have got so much of in our bodies.
Okay. Brilliant. So then what else? So we talked about the damp, and would mentioned, like, is that something similar to the thing called candida? What is that, Maria?
Well, yeah, that's an overgrowth. it's like our body, it's like, I'm a country girl, so I always refer to it as farmland, but maybe you city girls, maybe we can think of it as a flower bed.
Okay.
Which bit's the flower bed?
Right.
There.
So basically what we would look at is the upper, the lungs are like the mountains, the top, and then here we have the digestive system, the center part, that would be very much that's the farmland. That's where all the work is done, and that's where we get the goodness out all in that area. And then the pelvis, it would be like the shuck, which I'm guessing you city girls have no idea what that is. It's like a drain.
Right, okay.
The shuck.
The shuck.
Don't fall in the shuck. No?
No.
It's along
I wouldn't
the side
have
of the
been anywhere
road.
near a shuck
Yeah.
to know. But it sounds like good advice.
Yeah. You
Okay.
don't want a
Stay
shuck.
away from the shuck.
Just keep out of the shuck.
That's where all the debris goes.
Oh, right,
flows
okay,
into
okay.
all that there, and there's muck and dirt and everything in them. So and yes, so then that's what happens in the pelvic area, because we don't move enough, we don't sweat enough, we eat all the wrong foods, the heavy food that we can't really digest very well, all those foods that increase the production of damp in our body, which is all the sugar, wheat, dairy, all the things we
Yeah.
So
like.
that goes on, that produces the fungi or the...
Well, no,
what do you wanna
what
call it?
actually, sorry, to go back to that, what it actually does, it provides a perfect environment
Yes.
for the
Right.
for the fungi to grow. So the good bacteria they like the beach,
Okay.
they like the clean water, they like the fresh air, that nice breeze and everything. Whereas the bad guys, they like the swamp. And
Right.
guess which
so
one?
you gotta make sure your farmland isn't turning into a swamp. It needs to be healthy.
That's exactly it.
Okay,
So when
that's
somebody
good.
comes to me and if they say they have toe fungus or they have candida or whatever, I know that there is an option to put them on a very strict, in my opinion, unsustainable diet.
Okay.
Is candida a fungus?
Yeast,
Sorry, I'm clueless about
yeast
that.
overgrowth.
A yeast
Like
overgrowth?
we all
Yeah.
have yeast, is my knowledge, just
there?
when she was talking about damp and all.
Yeah,
you
so we
explain
have,
better
we
than
just,
me.
inside, we are more bacteria than we are human.
Okay.
It's all, we hear now it's very gut bacteria and your gut health and everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
there's
good bacteria, bad bacteria.
but we have respiratory microbiome and we have urogenital microbiome as well. It's all over the body. So, and they keep everything right. But we don't feed them well, we don't look after them well. So then, like, the good guys kind of struggle and die off, and the bad guys, they like the swamp and they're going to thrive there. So that's how they move in. And yeah, maybe we could take a probiotic, but it's not really going to change the environment. I always would say it's like, taking a rose bush and planting it in the desert. You can do that. It's not going to survive. You have to ensure that the environment is correct. But
Okay.
that's where all the hard work comes in. That's the sweating, the eating the real food, the avoiding all that really tempting, delicious stuff that causes or contributes to the problem. Have your hair dry, not wet, and the herbs, spices, and some people can make big changes with that, and then obviously I would use some herbal medicines to help that would make people poo and pee or sweat to help get it out.
So, let's talk about acupuncture. Because we haven't been talking about
No,
actually
I
sticking
haven't yet.
needles in.
Do you stick needles in her as well?
Yes. Well,
I pay her to stick needles in me. What's that?
and like, did you ever think that somebody sticking needles in you could feel so good?
I know.
Isn't it one of the most relaxing things?
It really is. It's hard to describe to someone. But yeah, tell us, what is it that happens?
What is the acupuncture and what is it that happens? It's a strange one because the science behind it, it's only in early days figuring it all out and working what it does. But in a nutshell, what I do is when I put a needle in somebody, I stab them. I cause an injury. I know it doesn't feel like that and there's no mark left or anything, but that's what the brain is reading, that you've been injured. So I put them in specific points in the body, that will act on different parts of the brain. And one of the things that happens is you will have the blood rush there and initiate some healing. And one of the main gases in our body, now we'll be getting awful complex here, so we'll not go into it too much, is nitric oxide. Very important, gasotransmitters, all of that kind of thing that communicate with neurotransmitters as well. And so that's what we're working on and manipulating as well. But what you feel is your first treatment isn't, the first treatment, you're going, is it okay for me to breathe? There's needles in my body. What if I move? What's happening to me? And you don't switch off just as quickly. And plus your brain is thinking, is this dangerous? Because you've just been attacked, and is it okay to let yourself go?
But can I just say, because so far it sounds horrendous, like if for someone who's never, these needles are so, I'm a fainter. I pass out when I'm getting needles in the doctor or whatever, but these needles are so fine. They don't actually feel like needles.
No, and they shouldn't be called, they shouldn't actually be called needles, because we associate that with the needles with draw blood.
Yeah, or put stuff.
Yeah, and you don't, sometimes you might feel it. I always say to people, if they go, oh, it might be too sore for me, I'm like, have you ever been waxed? Because if you have been waxed, let me tell you, you can have acupuncture.
It's more sore even to pluck an eyebrow, a hair, It's less painful than plucking a hair out.
It's just there's an awareness of it going in. Then once it's in, it's fine.
Yeah. And sometimes you might not even feel them going in, but then say once you have your second or third, fourth treatment, it's like your body is like, oh, I remember this. This is good, and you completely surrender to it.
Yes.
And then it puts you into that meditative state.
How does it do that? Tell me how, because I'm like...
It's all to do with the gasotransmitters and the neurological
I feel like after a few minutes that my hands aren't even on the bed, even though they're on the bed, but if they feel like that. It feels like floaty.
You're spaced out.
Do you know, this is terrible. People come in to me and they're like, oh, that's so relaxing, so chilled out. And I'm like, when was the last time you felt like that? And they can't remember. I'm seeing people that in order to stop and slow down, they have to be pinned down.
You're sticking the needles in them to pin them down.
I'm pinning them down, and they can't lift their phone, and they can't ring anybody, they can't read anything, they can't watch TV, they can't do their work. They literally, and that's just the day and age that we're now living in. There is no downtime unless you are pinned down.
Wow. So go to Maria and get pinned down.
Now, something I don't talk about a lot is the acupuncture, because that's something you're dependent on me to do, whereas I like to educate, like people to be their own person. And another therapy that I do is the Arvigo Maya massage, which is we massage from here to the pubic bone, all the gynae area, and then the back, particularly on the sacrum, which is just behind the reproductive area. An amazing treatment. But what I then do to every woman that comes to me for it is I will teach her how to do it herself. The entire, not the back obviously, but the entire abdominal part. So I'm seeing a lot of women that have been on fertility journeys for maybe 6, 7, 5 years. They maybe have been dealing with painful periods from their teens, and now they're in their 30s. They are on waiting lists. They are trying to figure out, what do I need to do? Because these women are boss women. They are in charge of every other aspect of their life. They know what they want. They figure out, what do I need to do to get it? And they do it and they get it. And then they want that baby, and they're stuck. And they're at the mercy of somebody else helping them. And so for me to be able to teach them to do this massage, and they take the 20 minutes every day to do it. They take the ginger water, they get out in the fresh air more, they make this tiny changes to their diet, whatever. But it just gives them that sense of control back.
Just an action plan.
Absolutely. And that in itself brings great healing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if you're going to make a long-term lifestyle change, you need to be able to do it yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it can't just
and
be,
that's what I say to people. I'm like, you have it for life. And they go, how often should I do this? And I'm like, oh no, you only have to do it on the days you wash your teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going, if people could see your insides, we might take a better care of them. So I've got one more self-care tip. Are you ready for it, ladies?
Yes.
It is called the vaginal steam.
Right? Okay.
Vaginal steam?
Oh, she said the B word. So we all are familiar, or I think we're all familiar with steam in the sinuses.
Yes.
And we know that really helps decongest. It really helps clear the sinuses.
Yeah.
And there's nobody ever argues with that. And put the word vagina in place and everybody's like, oh, that's
What?
crazy. That's hocus pocus. That's,
Where does the steam go?
Where do you think it goes?
I'll tell you what you do. You could use particular herbs if someone like me was to supply them to you. If anybody's going to try this, consult with your doctor first and don't do anything and then sue me.
Hang on.
In the 60s.
What's the logistics of this,
I just have to put in that discllaimer before I
Yes,
announce
of
how to do it,
course,
just in
yeah.
case, okay? Don't do it if you
I
think you might
think
be
you're going to tell us
pregnant.
you're going to announce how to do it. Okay, I'm ready for your
I
announcement.
just picture my GP, who I've had my entire life, me going, I just wanted to run it by you.
I'm going to steam my vagina.
Is that okay? Yeah.
You'd be like, close the door.
But yes, okay.
Never come
so,
back. Right.
yeah.
So basically you can get just basil at home, add it to a saucepan of cold water, bring it to the boil.
Sorry, look at our body language. We're both like this. Okay, so sorry.
I want reports back.
Basil.
Next
Is it
week
size
how
of
this
fresh
goes.
basil or
Fresh?
fresh basil? Okay.
Bring it to the boil, let it simmer for 10, 15 minutes with the lid on, get all the goodness out of the herbs, and then you can, after that, you would turn it up. When you take the lid off, just turn it up really high, and then you transfer that into a bowl, and you can either squat over that bowl when you're all covered, or you can do it the easier way and clean your toilet bowl, set it in, sit on the loo with all the towels around you, socks on, and that's it. And you won't burn yourself because there's no close contact.
Okay. So what the hell does that do?
Well, it does the same as steam in the sinuses. The moisture and the heat just causes a dilation, enabling better decongestion from the lymph and a little bit more blood flow. And do you know what else it does? It lets a woman take care of herself again. Okay. I know it does sound a little bit strange.
Well, look,
I'm not going to
we're
knock
up
until
for
I try
trying.
it.
Here's the thing. It's like we're all right pumping these synthetic hormones into us. Because our doctor told us to, or because that's the norm, but we won't try. I'm all about, let's try something else before we go down this road again. So
I think
you can give it a go.
where I'm stuck with it is if I'm steaming my sinuses, I breathe in and I know it goes into my lungs, and then the lungs send it back out.
I get what you
Whereas
mean. Yes.
nothing.
Don't
have any lungs
you
there.
obviously
Don't
have not
think.
been doing your pelvic floor exercises well enough.
haven't.
If you can't breathe,
No.
in vagina.
When I'm
getting visions
coughing,
of a
my
club in
lungs-
Thailand here with ping pong.
I know.
No, now don't be spoiling it for people. You know what? It doesn't.
they'll be
It's not
laughing
like
too.
you're not pulling it in. But what you can, but when you do sit and you're relatively close, but you won't burn. There's no actual touch, and it's just you just have to try it. But you will feel the warmth, and that is the warmth and the moisture will cause dilation, which enables more decongestion. And it just feels.
So is that good for menstrual? Good
Yes.
for fertility?
Yes, it could be. You know what? It's only part of the picture.
Yes, of
it's
course,
not. None
yes.
of these things are the complete answer, and it's crazy to think that there's just one thing you have to do to fix everything. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. And when I first started doing this work 10 years ago, women were only doing them at home because they were desperate to get pregnant or they were in desperate pain. And they found they always would come back to me so positive about it. They couldn't quite put it into words, but they were like, oh no, I felt so much better. I had a really deep sleep after it, or,
Okay.
I just
Gonna
felt
try it.
cleaner after, and, just different things. And again, it's something that they're doing to help themselves.
So where can people find you then?
People
For
can
tips and whatever.
find me. I am on Instagram, most active on Instagram, and a little bit on Facebook as the Hormone Health Coach. And then my website is Maria Rafferty.
I'm going to feed back. Yeah, but not with photos.
Yeah.
We
Don't be
don't want the
FaceTiming me.
We don't want the.
I thought I'd try that. What you doing there, love? You on the toilet? No, but it sounds good. And do you know what? Like, we'll have to try these things. We're all too easy just to flipping
As you say, pop pills
and take all these random.
But we can use it, a woman on the pill or using other methods. They can still do this as
they
well.
can
It's
still
really,
add this, yes.
And you know, there are women out there that don't want to take the pills, but they have to. But then so they can add this in to kind of, so they're getting both sides of it as well.
Okay. Well, that was great.
Really good.
Yeah.